What's going on, guys? How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing really fine and awesome, and you have all your hobbies and pile of shims ready to be painted and assembled anytime soon. Unlike me, I have too much, and what happens is when I'm almost done with some things, I ended up buying more boxes of really funny needs that I actually don't even need. But that's I have a few plans on what to do with them. Maybe try out different techniques on those models and stuff like that. So one of those models was the Lieutenant Calsius, this one, and this is the model that I'll be doing in this video. Yep, it's focusing. Yep. So what I tried to do with this model, by the way, it's a Lieutenant Calsius. It's a limited edition from one of the magazine thingy, White Dwarf, I think. I totally forgot which model or series of the magazine. But anyway, yeah, it's a limited edition model. You can only find it in that magazine, and they will give you like a free model, and one of it happens to be the Lieutenant Calsius. I think it was the 4th issue, 6th issue, kind of forgotten about it, and I got this model from a good friend of mine, a very seasoned player. I think you will be watching this video by now, but yeah, thank you very much for selling this to me. When I started like a few months ago, that's actually not a few months, that's like 8 months ago, when I started playing Warhammer and got into this miniature painting hobbies and stuff like that, I was really crazy about getting limited edition models. What ended up happening is I had to like clear some spaces to make room for my airbrush and all that stuff, and the floors, like right now, it's quite messy, and it used to be way messier. So what I had to do was just sell off some of the models, including the limited edition models. It was hectic, but I managed to clear some stuff, and some of the leftover stuff, like this model, the Lieutenant Calsius, didn't get to be sold. So what happens is since I'm making this video, I think it's a good idea that I make full use of this model to practice some of the painting techniques that I can try on. So Lieutenant Calsius, what I'll be doing is in this video is trying out two specific things. One is the NMM gold on the shoulder pad and the chest armor, the crest thing. Sorry, my Warhammer lore is not really that good, but yeah, that goal. And the other thing is OSL. If you don't know what OSLs are, it's basically like I think it's called objective source lighting. Not really sure of the specific term. I might write it down here somewhere, here the correct term. Yeah, so what it's specifically is you paint as if there's a real light shining through from one specific area, like on the SWAT for this model, for example. So yeah, let's get to the part where I start to prime this model, and then the steps that I took to get the blue parts of the Ultramarine armor ready. Let's go. Just a fair warning to you guys, I actually had a lot of footages, but it ended up being very useless because I am not a videographer. I am still learning how to properly take footages properly, and at the same time I have to paint and make sure that the cameras are actually pointing to where I am painting at, but most of the footages ended up being very useless, and it took up a lot of spaces on my hard drive and my memory card. I'm still learning. You can actually see that as the footage like goes by, as the video goes along, I actually experimented with different angles and also making sure that I am able to see from the viewfinder of the camera what I'm painting, and making sure that you guys can see what I'm doing. But apologies if the angles on some footages are not really clear, but anyway, it's already 4 or 5 minutes into the video. Let's get started, let's get to the point. So what I did first, the footage is not recorded, but basically what I did was I primed with Vallejo black surface primer on the model itself, and if I'm not mistaken, I put like 2 coats of the black primer. I didn't want to put too much because I will be doing what I did next, which is to mix the Kentor blue and the Vallejo black air. I mixed those together, just a little bit of Kentor blue, maybe about 30%, and more of the black paint, and I mix it up into my Harder and Steinbeck Evolution. Yes, I always mix those two up, Infinity and Evolution. So I put them together and put some airbrush thinner, shake it up in the airbrush pot itself, and then just spray gently, I think about 2 coats on the model itself, to get like those very dark bluish kind of base color that I want. So the next part I did was to take a snapshot of the picture of the model itself, with the table lighting pointing at the angle that I wanted, as a reference to what kind of effects that I want while painting the NMM of the armor. So I also take that snapshot of the picture using my phone and put it in front of me, as you can see in this footage. And that's the next part, where I try to paint some kind of NMM effect on the blue armor, power armor of the model. So while referencing the picture that I've taken for the lighting effect, for the reflection points, I started mixing up my colors. So what I aim to achieve is to have some kind of shining effect on the blue armor, like a bit of a metallic effect. So what I did was, based on the reference point, I started to like have a dark mix of Kentor blue and the black mixture, slowly adding up into pure Kentor blue, and then adding some ivory, Vallejo ivory, and finally a little bit of pure ivory to give the illusion that the power armor is reflective, is metal. I kind of really like how it turns out like that. It really looks like a metal in a dark I'm not really sure how to explain, but I think I managed to achieve that effect pretty well. It might look better when I take it with the black background, because of how the base color is like very dark blacky. On a black background it might look really more reflective. So now comes the part that I'm really scared of, the gold NMM part on the shoulder pads and the crest chest thing. I started with mixing Everland Sunset and Montfang Brown around, I think around 30 to 70% mix, more of the Montfang Brown as a base coat. And then slowly I started to glaze and sketch. I'm not really sure how to describe that. I basically dab a thin down mixture of that Everland Sunset and Montfang Brown, and then wipe it on a toilet paper to make sure that there's not too much water in the paintbrush, and then I started to glaze the reflection point and slowly adding up to like 50% to 50% morphing brown in Evelyn Sunset, and then like 70%, and then pure Evelyn Sunset, and then I started adding ivory if I'm not mistaken, and then after the ivory I put the, it's not ice yellow but a bit I kind of forgot what paint it's called, but yeah, it's those, it's called light yellow. I'm sorry, I don't have good memories. It's the video was recorded like 2 or 3 weeks ago actually. I intended to just delete that video because of how many useless footages I got, but then I realized that why not just do the video? I have time to record today. But yeah, anyway, this is what it turns out. I actually really like this, because what happens next is I decided to like glaze a bit more orange and like touch up some parts, and I kind of prefer what it looks like on that picture than on the other picture. Now in this part I decided to try painting the shoulder pads, the Ultramarine logo, to try playing around with shadings and all that. It is not really that important because my end goal was to play around with NMM shoulder pads, chest armor, the power armor, and OSL effect from the sword. So at that point of time I'm just like playing around, why not, and make it look a bit nicer or something. I even forgot to paint the green color grass patch thingy below the Ultramarine logo. But yeah, after that I moved forward to painting the sword with the glowing effect using Wild Rider Red and Ivory. Ivory is my favorite now, but I'm still trying to get ice yellow, but unfortunately my suppliers, Singapore suppliers here, don't carry ice yellow for some reason. But yeah, either way I use the Wild Rider Red and mixed up with the ivory and slowly blend it on the outer edges of the sword and the inner area. One thing I forgot at this point of time is that the Ultramarine logo on the sword is supposed to be gold instead of red, so I managed to fix it after like recording this footage. It's almost close to when I'm doing the OSL effect. So the blending part on the sword isn't that hard because I used to do this technique when I first started, which is like the wet blending, but not really wet blending, which basically I'm like mixing two colors before it dries up, and then I start like adding more of that mixture, 50-50 mixture, 70 the usual, into the part where the paint is still wet, and then it ends up being blended. I'm not sure if this is what wet blending is, but yeah, I managed to get the effect that I wanted, and then we move to the next part. So it's time for the face. The face. This is the one I'm most annoyed about. In terms of recording the video, most of the footage are really not visible. I tend to like go away from the camera and you cannot really see much, and I actually recorded like 45 minutes or 1 hour footage of this video. I'm not sure whether it's because of my camera, because it's crop sensor and not full frame, so I tend to not be able to like zoom nearer to the face or what I'm painting. But anyway, I prime with a white primer, white surface primer, Vallejo. Yes, they are the best. Airbrush, and then after that I started using the light skin flash model color and shade and base that flashy tones, and then I use Rayclan flash shade to wash the face down, and I also did a little mix of purple, if I'm not mistaken it's Ceres purple, on the place where the washers were staying at, to give like impression of more depth. I not really sure whether it works because the reclaimed flesh shade kind of had a purple brownish tint, but yeah, it ends up looking pretty okay for me. And I also started trying out using the 000 or 00 Winsor and Newton brush to try painting the eyes and the face. My feedback is I find it really a little too small, and size 0 is still the best for me. So I started painting the eye and blonde hair using light yellow, and if I'm not mistaken I wash it with black, like thin down black or 9-all. I forgot about what I did. So either way, another thing I need to say is that I painted the heads in sub-assembly. So what I did was I drilled a hole on the head and put a cutout paper clip on the head and super glue it there, and then chuck it on a cork thingy board or cord something, so that I can paint it in sub-assembly 360 easily. So after painting the head, I cut off the excess paper clip, and then I use super glue, and then I glue that in place. Now comes the part of the OSL. You can't really see much here in this video, so I'm just going to do some explanation rather than showing you the footage of what I did, because of the same camera angle thingy, it doesn't show that much. So what I did is using the same mixture of what I did on the sword, Wild Rider Red and Ivory, but except that I am not really using Ivory. Most of the time I'm just using pure Wild Rider Red, and I did down really thinly and start glazing on the sides where I wanted the OSL effect. The Ivory, what I did is I started with the where the light reflection points stop and start on, especially on the chest part. So I drew like some lines. I imagine what it will look like when the light is shining through, and after that I started glazing in between that area. And then as for the legs, it's mostly thin down Wild Rider Red on the legs, and then I also used like a mixture of Ivory and Wild Rider Red on the parts where I think the brightest part of the sword shines through. And after that I put it on the pre-made base from Green Stuff World, I think, and I also put some OSL effect on the stone in front, and then we are done. This is what it looks like. What do you guys think? Did it look like an OSL effect? In my opinion, it didn't really look like light coming out from the sword. The next time if I want to do OSL effect, I might try using an airbrush and some cardboard paper for where the light point stops at. But otherwise, I really like the NMM gold effect and the power armor NMM. It really looks satisfactory in my opinion. But as for the OSL effect, I don't like it. I need to improve more on this. So maybe in the future episodes I might revisit OSL, maybe from the same Lieutenant Calsius. Most probably not, but yeah, I will definitely revisit OSL. Anyway, that's it guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Oh yeah, this has been Paint with Frosty.